I've watched the Syrian revolution play out for more than a decade, and one thing stands out. Most people barely know its story. They catch fragments, Assad, ISIS, refugees, but the reality is stranger, layered with betrayals, backroom deals, and horrors that sound impossible until you see the evidence. Or as Assad would say, the evidence. Allies turn into enemies, enemies into allies. Foreign conspiracies are real, but so is a revolution with a heartbeat. It's messy, it's fractured, and it's almost never black and white. This iceberg will take you from the surface, the obvious names and battles, down into darker waters, ghost militias, prisons that swallowed thousands, occult rumors whispered in Damascus, and at the very bottom, alien conspiracies where Syria's war collides with ancient myths of alien Anunnakis warning Putin. The deeper we go, the stranger it gets. It's going to be interspersed with my friend and I having a conversation about some of these. So yeah, without further ado, here it is. Oh, also ignore the giraffe mask. He just can't reveal his face for reasons. Can you answer to us why you're wearing a giraffe and what you can reveal about yourself?
Just much more comfortable doing this.
Okay.
I don't live somewhere where I can talk about politics very openly, and I have career prospects, so I don't want to. I don't want to deal with that.
Syria wasn't always a dictatorship. In the 1950s, it was a fragile democracy, overthrown in a carousel of coups. The Baathists grabbed power. Hafiz al-Assad muscled his way through the military, and by 2011, his family dynasty finally faced its real test, a grassroots revolution that spiraled into a proxy war. Do you have any comments on this Syrian civil war that I missed there?
I mean, if we're looking at it as an overview, I think this should be fine. Well, I'm sure we're gonna get deeper into other parts of it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's hard about listing stuff on the iceberg, is it goes into each other.
They're all connected. They're all connected.
Yeah, and it's hard to rank it too.
We're gonna talk about the whole iceberg anyway, so might as well wait.
The family saga borders on a soap opera. Grandfather, I think his name is like Suleiman Ali or something, Ali Suleiman or something. And his last name was actually Al-Wahsh, not Al-Assad. In Arabic, Al-Wahsh means monster, and he changed it to lion.
The story that I heard about Hafiz's grandfather, what Al-Wahsh, he just showed up one day to that village. No one knows where originally he was from. Every village has one of those families that just showed up one day. They don't know if he was originally Alawi or not, or whatever he was, but he adopted the identity of the village. And he worked for a gangster to make ends meet. It was kind of like the muscle for them. That's why we called him Al-Wahsh. That's the story I heard.
Al-Wahsh once floated the idea of Israel creating an Alawi mini-state.
Nothing is confirmed about this person. It's just stories.
Yeah.
Because this guy's entire existence is up in the air. We don't even know if he's real.
Hafiz, the peasant turned Air Force officer, consolidated the dynasty. A lot of Alawis joined the military to gain power during this time, and Hafiz was one of them. He was merely an Air Force officer and then became the defense minister and then later the president, all through overthrowing the government, first with the Ba'athist party and then overthrowing that party's leader. From a broke peasant to leader of the whole state, bro had a crazy come up. When he thought of who would succeed him, he came up with none other than Basil, the groomed heir, died in a car crash. You know, I think there are some conspiracies revolving that car accident too. It's not straightforward. Like most people, yeah, they've settled it. It is a car accident.
The conspiracy that I hear mostly, that Basil was not Ba'athist enough or something, or his ideas were a little different from his father, so one day he just got disappeared.
Crazy. That whole family's crazy though. You know, when he died, like there was a discussion between Hafiz and Anisa were wondering who should succeed him. The mother, Anisa, preferred Mahir, the brutal brother with the temper. She preferred Mahir because he's like more crazy, psycho, ruthless. Bushra was also floated because she's like actually intelligent or something, or more poised, you know. But as you'd expect, she was dismissed for being a woman. Syria just couldn't have a woman president. Measured, the drug-addled sibling no one even mentions.
I keep forgetting he exists.
Yeah, exactly. They never talk about him. No one talks about him. He's the crackhead brother they all forgot about, and apparently he's dead.
It's much more morally... it's morally better to be the drug addict than to be the dictator.
Yeah, for real. Probably caused the least amount of harm. And obviously the story that most of you should know. Bashar al-Assad, the London-educated ophthalmologist, was pulled back home suddenly to become the president. Okay, so now we're getting into the tip of the iceberg. How do you say it in Arabic?
حركة تصحيحية.
حركة تصحيحية. حركة تصحيحية. People can't even say that letter once. حركة تصحيحية.
Try.
Hafiz basically crowned himself king. He warped the Alawite sect into a state religion of loyalty, wrapping his rule in divine inevitability. His portraits replaced prophets. His slogans replaced scripture. Under the banner of correction, he betrayed socialism, feeding the nouveau riche while the countryside starved. The Ba'aths promise of equality curdled into a cult of personality enforced by mukhabarat terror. By the 1980s, Syria was less a republic and more a surveillance mafia state devoted to serving one man's power. You notice that there's a lot of memes around the Syrian civil war, man. Memes are your thing, aren't they, Mr. Giraffe?
We've got a lot of memes. It's the funniest civil war out there. I mean, still, they keep pumping them out.
They still come out, and they're still centered around Bashar. There are some Sharaa memes.
You just gotta give it time.
I guess so, but Bashar is too goofy. So easy to make memes of him.
Yeah, we're just such a silly people.
Yeah. The first few days of December 8th, like the party, everything, that was so funny, man. The memes were going crazy that day. But yeah, I think the memes were maybe not state policy, but like there's a lot of his supporters that knew that memes were effective and maybe like Russia helped them. I think like Syrian civil war was maybe the first war that like took place online with memes too. There were so many memes that like led the narrative online. Who must go? A meme born from Western leaders all chanting Assad must go. Instead, he stayed, at least for a long time. The phrase became bitter irony among Syrians. Can't Mossad Assad? Another meme projecting invincibility. But ironic, since Hafiz al-Assad signed disengagement deals in 1974 with Israel and Bashar held quiet peace talks before the revolution. Oh, and not to mention the whole Eli Cohen fiasco, where he literally Mossaded Assad.
The thing is with the Syrian civil war specifically is more than any other war so far, at least from what I've seen. It's a war of information. It's a war of propaganda. It's differing opinions, and they're fighting each other purely based on what I would say is 90% propaganda. A lot of what our people have problems with each other over is just different interpretations of events driven the online propaganda by the regime as well as by his opposition.
I think like all wars have had propaganda to some extent, but this was the first one that used social media to some next level way. It was around the same time that like Facebook and internet access was becoming more like widespread in our region too. Russia and Assad, they used it to their best powers. It's interesting the way they targeted stuff that was popular too. It was really popular for world leaders to say Assad must go, Assad must go. And so what did they do? They created the meme so that the who must go, exactly. They targeted stuff that was really popular so that it would come up on search results better. That's how much I think they thought of this stuff, man. Also, like the way that they targeted the white helmets too. Like the white helmets were getting a lot of popularity, and they got like an Oscar or something, like a Golden Globe or some shit. And they were on Netflix and stuff like that. They felt like they had to target them specifically, and so now like their search results are also pretty messed up. If you look them up, you'll find their propaganda about them too. Syria had a lot of crazy propaganda. I don't think it's like that unique though, especially with like Palestine going on right now. You still hear people say like some really brainwashed stuff. The only way they believe that is through propaganda. It's crazy what propaganda can do when you're looking at something so obviously black and white of Assad being bad, but when you're bombarded with propaganda of USA bad too and all this other stuff constantly, it can muddy the waters and make people rethink like, Assad is bad, but is he that bad or stuff like that. You gaslight yourself into thinking.
It's certainly not black and white. That's the thing about.
But it is black and white that he's an evil person, you know, like
where they controlled the people was not that aspect. 90% of the supporters knew he was a garbage person, but didn't support him out of support for him, but because he has convinced the people to be at such odds with each other that they are willing to accept him. Some aspects at least are willing to accept him because they assume that what's coming is worse, and that's his main talking point, right?
And that's the same way with like Jews and Israelis. Like maybe they'll say like, Israel is doing some bad stuff, but they believe it's acceptable for them for their own security or whatever. And I'm saying like, I know their justification, but that's not an excuse. You know what I mean? It's black and white. In reality, it's still a bad thing, and there's a bad guy, and there's things that we should stand for and not stand for. But then people are like, they start gaslighting themselves into making these 5-head calculations of like, but Assad is bad, but USA is really bad, and like, should I support the enemy of my enemy, and enemy is enemy of friend? Shut up, man. Just bad is bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the thing is with Syria is you're not allowed to say Assad is bad. You can't say Assad is bad. Assad is bad. Like you can't say that. So if you want to say that, then you are putting all of your power into the basket of the revolution, and that's like the core issue is that people did not trust it. Unfortunately, the reality is like since the beginning of war, Assad has allowed for the formation of ISIS. He has allowed for formation of these groups. He has targeted secular groups. Why? Because he knows that sectarianism is there in our society. So if you just pave the way for it, then the opposition will be sectarian in the way that they fight, in their platforms and
They'll
what they
take the
say.
bait. They'll take the bait. They'll fall for the bait every time.
Yeah, exactly. And then what you're left with is people that are sitting there and they're left with no choices. Some people will feel that if I don't support him, my whole family will get killed. So I have to
Hmm.
support him. And some people feel like if I don't oppose him, my whole family will get killed. So I have to oppose him. And so people are forced to join camps
Yeah.
based on whatever the hell they were born as,
And
rather than.
most people will just stay and do whatever they can to survive at the end of the day. Like 90% of people in Syria, most of them left just out of needing to find somewhere safe to be. The Syrian whole conflict was made by a very few decision makers who actually were willing to risk everything in their life. And very few people are willing to risk everything in their life. It's not expected of you to do that. All anyone should ask for in life is like a chance to live and not bother anyone.
And you know what? You're way more likely to fight if you're being actively targeted and you have less to lose.
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
for sure.
You don't
For
have as
sure.
much to lose anymore, so you're gonna fight.
How did we get to this from memes, man?
We're talking about Syria, bro.
Hafez's brother tried to stage a coup in 1984. He failed, and then he was exiled. He grew fabulously rich off of the backs of Syrians. His Paris properties and assets were seized and auctioned off decades later. People actually auctioned on it, which was crazy because that's like Syrian money being sold to like French rich people.
And they got that as a reward for holding the criminal. And Rifaat al-Assad specifically, he's the architect of the
Hama
massacre.
Massacre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Assad's cousins, the kleptocrats, Rami Makhlouf, Syria's richest man, monopolized telecoms and smuggling until he fell out with Bashar during the war. Yeah, the Makhlouf family, I believe they're his cousins. They're not his in-laws, right?
No, the Makhlouf's cousins, but there's dads-in-law.
So Rami is his maternal cousin. He stole a lot of Syria's economy. At one point, they said that he owned half of Syria's economy. He was behind telecom company, which was a monopoly. It was called SyriaTel. I believe he also helped get started the Captagon trade, just to get them cooking so that they could start selling off of their war economy when they were sanctioned to hell. And then I think also at one point he started shaking down Syrian businessmen. Bashar did. Rami Makhlouf was one of them. He was like, okay, we're super sanctioned. We need money. We need your money. You guys have our safety and support and whatever. So let us have your money. So they seized a lot of their assets. And I think Asma ended up actually profiting a lot off of that. And that's how she made this like NGO that she could funnel a lot of money into under the guise of like rebuilding Syria. She ended up becoming even richer than Rami in the end, I think.
They owned all of Syria. They are just as implicit in everything as the Assad family were. The Assad family may have run like the administrative side of everything, and they owned the war machines, but they would not be able to do any of that without the financial support of the Makhloufs and other merchants in Syria and Damascus and Aleppo. You could say that these are the biggest financiers to the whole war. They controlled the country financially because at the end of the day, like if you don't have money, if you're completely broken down and you can't find a bite to eat, you are way more willing to accept the status quo just so you can move on with your life. They chose to keep money. They chose to rob the Syrian people.
I'm sure they paid salaries for Shabiha too.
A lot.
The amphetamine fueling Assad's war economy, smuggled through Lebanon and the Gulf. It became Syria's lifeline under sanctions. The drug of choice for Assad when deciding to restart his economy after devastating the whole country with bombing like all the buildings. They call it the poor man's cocaine. He smuggled through, I mean, it used to be Syrian occupied Baqa Valley. I don't know how to say it in Arabic. I always read it in English. It's Baqa, right? Ba'a. Ba'a. Sounds funny coming from a giraffe because, you know, it sounds like sheep sound like Ba'a.
Same class of animal.
You calling Lebanese people sheep?
No, we're all sheep.
We're all sheep. We're all hamar, bro.
Oh, that's a donkey.
Yes, we're all donkeys.
It's just one. It's not even
We're
like
all hamir, bro. We're all hamir. No, we're all one donkey. We're not all a million donkeys.
Donkey together strong.
Yeah, so no, in Baqa Valley, like it used to be Syrian occupied territory, but now Hezbollah was running like a bunch of drug plants there under the funding of Assad's too, and they smuggled it into a shit ton of countries, including Gulf countries, but also to Europe. Like I heard Italy was having a lot of troubles with it too, and Syria, man, it devastated Syria. There's probably still a lot of addicts in Syria that are struggling with it now, and that's another criticism I have of like the current administration. Are they just gonna leave a bunch of these addicts to fend for themselves, or are they going to try to help them out in some way? Because you can't just take away that
I have
they've been
a lot of
taking.
my criticisms of the current administration, but I feel like this one, like, what are we gonna do?
Oh, this one, bro, this is the kind of stuff that in the West they've done the research and they've figured out that, you can't just do the war on drug thing where you just go after the drug dealers, you go after the patients too, like, or the victims or the users. Like, you have to rehabilitate them so that they don't go out seeking it, because most of the people
That's
seeking
not
it are doing so out of poverty or, lack of career opportunity, stuff like that. So if you can put someone in a methadone clinic to recover and stop taking it for 2 weeks, get them housing, get them shelter, get them food, and try to get them employment, that's how you do it. It's nice when they take pictures of, oh, we seized like 1 million Captagon pills from the Jordanian border, but that's not going to stop the people seeking it out, because if they're not going to take Captagon, they're going to go and figure something else out. You heard of Jenkum?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro, you can just shit in a bucket and get high if you want, and then they'll OD on that instead, and then we'll have a bunch of OD Jenkum users in Syria. Is that what you want?
It's not, but again, like, it is like there's so much going on in the country. I don't even know.
Yeah, no, for sure. This is what delegation is for, man. He has a bunch of employees. You give them this and let them work on it and come back to me in a month.
Yeah, but no, doing things in a compassionate and caring way is not the serious. So I don't know if that's gonna happen.
No, yeah, I know. This is like one of those tertiary things. Like you said, there's so many things going on. It's probably, this is probably not going to be like the top of their priority, but it's like, it's sad that we have a chance to restart a country like from fresh, and there are so many experiments and research that we can look at, and we're not using it. We're still kind of doing trial and error. You have to benefit from a lot of other people's expertise and opinions too. You have the benefit of that history. Use it. Militias from Assad's coastal heartland, and sometimes picked from every local community, nicknamed Shabiha, meaning ghosts, because of their ghost-like nature, but also, I believe, because they drive a car that is referred to as the ghost. They're extremely loyal to Assad. They're notorious for looting, killings, and extreme cult-like worship of Assad. Many of them are from the Alawi sect, which Assad belongs to. They're also notorious for taking synthol, injecting it, and having like these crazy, disproportionate arms. It's not like they skip leg day, it's like they skip arm day too and they just inject synthol.
They were such a problem that the village my village, when we go back to Syria, when we're there were no police. There were only Shabiha. But even if I'm trying to go from one crossing to the other, the traffic police, yeah, we didn't have that. We just had like a guy with a fucking AK standing there, military armor, clothing, everything, just telling you to go to the right. How fucking are you supposed to say no?
Damn, they don't even need to put a roadblock, it's just the guy. Yeah, shit.
It's a guy with like a big rifle, and you don't know what to do because and people just accept it as a way of life. This is normal. I don't even see it as weird.
Have you ever reported a crime to the police in Syria?
Fuck no.
Would you ever, if you saw
No.
someone like stealing something, would you be like, "Go call 911"? How do you like? How does the society deal with that?
People just accept that sometimes your stuff gets stolen. We never leave anything valuable in the house because we know that like we might come back and not find it.
The army and police are not meant to protect you.
No, they're meant to control you because you would hear you'd hear stories about like, oh, someone got murdered. Oh, okay, what happened? Oh, the police said this happened. Oh, did they do an investigation? No, they just know. It's like, oh, okay.
And do you have instances where the police was even involved, or you wouldn't know either way, I guess?
Oh, you wouldn't know. That's the idea. Because the cover-ups are always so shallowly done, like badly done, that it doesn't matter. Like you can sit there and think, probably they were involved, maybe they weren't. I don't know. You don't know. No one knows. And there's no way to tell because what are you going to do? You're gonna go investigate it yourself?
I mean, that's what would happen, right? When there's a breakdown of security in society, like everything's up to you now. So yeah, you hear stories of people like they have to go to bribe this guy and bribe that guy. That's basically what it is. You go and do an investigation and ask people for information and offer them money for it.
I heard stories of someone like my cousin's friend. They were not fitting of our society. So what I'm gonna say about them. The story is he killed himself, but everyone knows he got killed by his cousin. But no one can prove it.
Although if everyone can accuse him, that can also just count, no?
But no one cares because of that particular person's situation.
Oh, I see. Okay. Have you ever seen Street Justice?
No. People don't care. It's never that deep in Syria. It's always.
It is now, man. Everyone is like
now it's
doing their own street justice.
Everyone's just going at each other and claiming that they're.
In 2013, a rebel commander filmed himself cutting out and biting into a soldier's heart. It was broadcast everywhere and used to discredit the opposition. The regime milked it endlessly. He was pictured saying some shit about, I think it was about Alawis too, specifically.
جيناكم بالذبح. We've come to you to massacre you. That's a common one you hear.
That I don't remember. It was pretty crazy. They took this photo, this one screenshot is etched in my mind forever because of how many times I've had it like people reply it to me in Twitter posts to say like this is what you support and stuff.
Go back to like we're talking about the memes, the propaganda. We've gotten so accustomed to throwing each other's corpses at each other so we can vilify each other. That's what we've broken down to as a society. That we try and find the most gruesome images from each side and use it to just vilify as many people as possible. Because you could take that heart-eating thing, and you could see that as the result of war. The messed up that particular soldier, or maybe his brigade, or maybe whatever he belonged to, as being the villains in the situation. They would absolutely be. But you could also take it and see, well, what's his sect? Okay, he's Sunni. Okay, these are the Sunnis. And that's what we do. We take people and we just label them.
Of course.
And so create divisions that are not necessarily always there, but we force it.
The only time I've seen someone take a bite out of another person's heart is in that like Vice video with Liberia. Man, when I look at that, like I don't know much about the divisions in Liberia, but I'm like, man, war is crazy. People go crazy in war.
It's the divisions amongst people. It's the labeling.
You see it with the coastal massacres too, and you see this bringing up this like horrible image that no one should be proud of and turning it into see what we did to you. This is like to troll people. It's awful. The slaughterhouse prison. Amnesty reports called it an extermination center. Hangings by the thousands. Corpses burned or dumped in mass graves. When they opened it up, we saw that there was a human press in it too, like the Panini people. You hear stories of like there was salt on the floor because that helps with the decomposing bodies because they wouldn't even bother to pick them up. People literally like had to take turns standing up because they take up too much room. Most of your day could be spent standing up and crouching in like really awkward positions and beatings until you become numb.
Really gruesome. It really just makes you sick to your stomach,
I've heard and read so much about it that like I feel like everything that could be said has been said, but this video is for people that are not very familiar with Syria. I don't want to just brush by this one.
The Caesar laws are a direct result of this torture house. There's really no way to describe it. And the most like ironic part of it all is Sednaya, the area, is the name of the region. It's called Jannat Sednaya, the heaven of Sednaya, because the place really is beautiful, and they've decided to build one of the most horrific prisons in the world right there, create a hell inside the heaven, which is
Military Intelligence Dungeons 235 Farah Filasteen, infamous for holding and torturing Palestinian prisoners, each branch a bureaucratic slaughterhouse. A 13-year-old, born in the same year I was, tortured to death in 2011 for graffiti. His mutilated body was returned to his parents days later. His death and innocence became a symbol for the revolution. So this kid was what really set off a lot of people in the Syrian revolution. Most people were like, no, like we can't go out into the streets, we can't protest. We're not like the other Arab countries, because we were all watching the Arab countries revolt and we were like, Syria's not, we can't do it. And then I think Daraa started a little bit, and at best, even the people in Daraa were saying like, we need reforms, we're not trying to topple the dictator. And then when Hamza was killed because he protested, his body was returned to his parents a couple days later, mutilated with a bunch of signs of torture. And this is what outraged a lot of Syrians to finally go out into the streets and still only demanding reforms and for accountability, not for ousting Assad. I think that would still come later after he opened fire on civilians.
That really kind of like a spiral of dominoes until where we are today.
That was it was basically the first domino in Syria to start the revolution. And we remember that kid everywhere now. Hopefully his legacy lives on. And his parents spoke as soon as the country was freed. You see that photo of him with that AI photo of him with Abdel Bassett?
Yeah, I saw it, yeah.
It's adorable. Arur. Okay, I didn't write anything for this one, so it's all on you. Explain to us, who is Arur?
What I know about him is he was a sheikh. I know he was pro-revolution, but a lot of people talk about how extremist he was. Even like a lot of revolution people I know, like very pro-revolution people, talk about him as he's extremely extreme. Also, I don't know a lot about this guy. I was really hoping that you'd know a bit more.
Yeah, no, it's okay. That's good enough. So yeah, I don't know much either, but I know that he was basically used by Assadists to paint like Sunnis as like, oh, this is who they support. This is, who they would rather was in power or whatever. And I remember watching videos of the Syrian army like torturing Syrians and saying, you love Arur, this and that. So I thought he should get a little mention. We brought it up earlier, but Hafiz flattened Hama to crush Muslim Brotherhood revolt, killed an estimated 40,000 people, going door to door, killing women, children, anyone that was supposed to be affiliated with Muslim Brotherhood. It set the template, absolute brutality to snuff dissent. Architect, like we mentioned earlier, was Rifaat Al-Assad. This was when the international community first looked at Hafiz and was like, yeah, he's gone crazy. How many times have you heard of this term?
Not as many as I should have.
Really? Are you serious?
Seriously.
Bro,
Truthfully.
I hear it up the ass every day, man. People tell me it like they're telling me about like sliced bread for the first time. I've heard of it, I've read about it, I've been told about it a million times. Stop fucking telling me about Timber Sycamore, bro. So I think it needs a video of its own, but basically it's a CIA secret rebel program, secret because they announced it anyways. Like it was very well known. It was really poorly managed by Obama, and it was cut by Trump in 2018. Pentagon also undermined it by backing Kurds at the same time, like the SDF, the Syrian Democratic Forces. They weren't operating under the CIA umbrella, they were operating under the Pentagon, and CIA was kind of the first one. They were meant to topple Assad, but then Obama got cold feet. Yeah, let me know if you guys want a video on this. I probably will make one in the future. It's a long story, but point is it ended in 2018, and there were way more relevant developments in US policy than that. Like the Iran's nuclear deal basically made the Timber Sycamore program completely obsolete, and then Trump cut it in 2018, and by that time it was already, they had only like literally one of the generals was being tried in Congress or whatever you call it, like those public hearings, and he said we only have like 4 or 5 like soldiers on the ground in Syria. So it's like it was a completely void. It's like the most irrelevant shit that people think is so important to know about. Tens of thousands flowed in when they heard about the Syrian revolution. At first, a lot of them were Muslims, just sympathetic to Muslims being persecuted by Assad. I personally knew one of them. His end was not very good. He ended up joining that black flag group.
Nice.
Yeah. So at first, it was all Sunni extremists, basically, or Sunnis who were just sympathetic and wanted to go help with humanitarian stuff. And then
A lot more flowed in.
yeah, so a lot of them from all over the world, every country you can imagine. Yeah, there was someone from there probably fighting in Syria. And also then, so Assad had sent a lot of fighters earlier to Iraq to slow down the USA because he knew he would be next after Saddam. And he called a lot of them back to fight the revolution, basically, or to slow down the revolution to make them fight 2 fronts rather than just fight him. And that's, I don't want to. I might cut this out of the video, but I suspect like Sharaa, like I know he was one of those fighters, but I suspect there's a possibility that Sharaa was always part of the plan or something. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out like way later that he was.
I mean, he's one of the fighters sent to Iraq by
Mm-hmm.
the Assad,
Mm-hmm.
his name's on the list.
But do you
He
think
was
that's like incidental that he ended up being then like the next president, or was that like part of the plan all along? Like I'm saying, I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out that it was part of the plan.
was planning.
But like I think if we're thinking like super conspiracy, CIA planned this since like 2006 because they were with Assad. He was helping torture people as early as 2006, and he maybe slowed down his downfall as much as he could, but eventually he was just pushed out. And they already had like Sharaa lined up as Jolani in Idlib. It seemed like he was groomed a bit to become the president. It was like
that happened. They trained him. They said they trained him. But the question is, how early were they planning for that?
who said they trained him? No, they didn't train. They cooperated with him to fight like Al-Qaeda and ISIS.
The CIA said that they trained Julani like at some point, like they worked with him. Like they said like we've done some political training for him.
They worked with him. I don't know if they trained him. I know they worked with him for sure. Training maybe like politically something like that. Not not like military training.
Not literally, they gave him a gun and told him not to shoot. No, that's not what I mean.
Yeah. But he gave them locations and told them where to shoot.
That's true.
Yeah, like he gave them drone coordinates and they shot down like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and that's when they started trusting him. But anyways, so we're talking about foreign fighters, and we went from so the Sunni jihadists, we went to a tangent about Sharaa being one of them. But after that, like a bunch of Shia jihadists came from Lebanon. I think Qusair was the first battle where a bunch of Lebanese Shias were like, our people are being persecuted in Syria, we want to help them. A lot of them were Hezbollah, and a lot of them came like secretly not saying like Hezbollah officially stepped into the war. So I think they were fighting before the Battle of Qusair too, but they came in, and so that was Lebanon. But then there was also Iraq, and then there was also Iran, and then there was also Yemen, and then there was also all these other countries like with Shia minorities that went to help Assad on his fight. So there was also Pakistan and Afghanistan Shia. There was also like Christian nationalists who came to defend him from Greece, from Serbia, from Russia.
They came to fight them?
Yeah, bro. There was the Golden Dawn from Greece, these like neo-Nazis, and there's a Serbian nationalist caught too. And the Wagner group was basically a Russian paramilitary force that was fighting for Assad as well. Western volunteers with the Kurds as well. So you had a lot of like conservatives who believed in fighting ISIS, but a lot of them usually were like straight up Islamophobes, defending a minority, the noble Kurdish minority, against the savage Arab population. And some of them were also leftists as well that believed in Öcalan's like democratic confederalism, and they like believed that they were fighting the Turkish fascist occupier. Like, I mean, there's a lot of different groups in FSA, but one of them, shout out to Abaddon, a guy in Discord, who wanted me to mention the Leon Sedov Brigade, which is named after the son of Leon Trotsky.
A group founded by Argentinian foreign fighters, actually in Libya, fighting Muammar Gaddafi, made its way into Syria, made up as well of industrial workers from around the city of Aleppo. Most of their members did end up quitting though. Satellite imagery and defector photos proved Assad buried thousands near Damascus in giant pits. Syria's soil is lined with hidden cemeteries all over the country.
And we continue discovering them all the time. And
it just keeps coming. It just keeps coming. Even after he left, he doesn't stop torturing the families of the victims mentally.
That's all we can really say on that. Is there's endless amounts of mass graves. Syria is just one big mass grave, bro.
That's the best way to describe it.
Turkey armed rebels but turned them on like SDF rather than against Assad. Qatar and Saudi bankrolled but barely vetted the right rebel groups, so most of the ones that Syrians actually wanted them to support, they ended up not supporting. Assad fought rebels yet gave jihadists free rein to fight rebels as well. Israel bombed Iran and treated and wounded rebels but fought rebels that it didn't control. There were no clean alliances, just opportunism.
Mm-hmm. There was a complete chaos, complete chaos. Just groups upon groups of militias fighting each other, all claiming to be just somehow. We're all just, and everyone else is a criminal, and they're all committing massacres.
And every country that was involved had their own interest at heart, and very rarely was that interest simply topple Assad. Often that would be collateral. That would be like, it doesn't matter. They already could achieve their goal without toppling him, like USA did by occupying northeast Syria. They didn't need the rest of Syria, you know, or Israel by just keeping chaos in Syria. That's even better than having like an actual strong political administration in Syria. You know, they could achieve their goals without toppling Assad. And so I pointed this out so that people who are hopefully watching this who aren't very familiar with Syria would never ever try to put a blanket statement on the Syrian conflict ever again by saying it's just a proxy war or this or that. It's much more complicated than that. Lauded as heroes for saving bomb victims, then smeared as Al-Qaeda's PR. They became a case study in weaponized propaganda.
I think this one's more to you. You know a bit more on this than I do.
Yeah, so they were super popular. They were heroes among media in the West and among Syrians too. That made them ripe victims or targets for propagandizing. And obviously because they were the ones showing up as soon as a bomb attack would happen, they looked like the suspects. Like if you just look at them and say, oh, they were there. So it seemed like you could relate their presence with an attack every time. And so many people actually fell for that crap. And it's just like Israel says the same thing about civil defense in Palestine, and people have smeared aid workers in conflicts all over the world throughout history, but this was just our own version of that.
It's crazy to see how well it works in Syria, because you would not believe the amount of Syrians that really did believe that these guys were Qaeda. They actually believe them to be Dawa'i. You know, it's the same amount of people that also believe the chemical attacks never happened. And you see that still today, even after Assad is gone, in the new policies and the new administration, when people discuss the massacres of Alawis in the coast, they will deny that or try to lower it or try to kind of minimize it as much as possible in the same way that Assad did.
Barrel bombs are basically big metal containers packed with explosives and tossed out of helicopters. They're cheap, sloppy, and guaranteed to hit civilians. That's the whole point. The idea isn't new. Improvised barrel-style explosives first showed up when Israeli militias dropped them on Palestinians in the 1947-48 Palestine War. Same logic, low cost, high damage, and no precision required. But Assad's forces used thousands of these bombs on crowded neighborhoods, turning an old Israeli improvised tactic into a core part of their war strategy. It wasn't some elegant military innovation, but what you use when you want maximum destruction. The US CIA backing rebels and their training, while the Pentagon later backing the SDF with full air support. Israel aiding rebels against Iran while bombing them when they strayed. Turkey hiring Syrian rebels but basically using them to defend their borders against the SDF. This was a war where patrons often fought their own clients.
Everyone was settling scores in Syria. No one was there to help the people.
Yeah, that's why I call it it's the chessboard. It's their labor game, and they sacrifice their pawns whenever they need to, whenever they're no longer useful.
An activist who was tortured and then spoke out about his torture after being released, and then later returned to Syria after speaking out about everything because he was told that he was blackmailed kind of into coming back, saying that his family would be in danger if he didn't. And then just days after Assad's fall, he had been found dead in Sednaya prison, almost as if out of spite for the liberation. They just literally killed him the day of the liberation because his body was still just decomposing, so it seemed like they had just killed him. So they kept him alive till the very day, and he never got to see a free Syria. Assad emailing two mistresses playlists of him listening to LMFAO and Chris Brown, I remember, and advice from Asma's father, his father-in-law, on how to downplay massacres in the media, saying that, that they're terrorists, they're jihadists, and it exposed him as like very human. And a lot of people used this as a meme as well to say like, oh, he listened to Blake Shelton and messaged his wife about how much he loved her. You've seen that meme go around.
The leaks I know about them, yeah. I've seen it.
You've seen the leaks, but you've seen the meme where people are like, "Oh, like remember when Anonymous hacked into Assad and all they found was lovely messages to his wife?"
Yeah, I've heard something like that. Yeah.
Oh my god, I've seen it like 100 times, man. It gets recycled. It's like the Gaddafi wanted a African NATO, and that's why they killed him tweet, and that tweet comes back like every other month.
Oh my god.
Man, I'm way more eternally online than you are, bro.
No, I have a life. That's why I have.
Yeah, I don't, man. I'm way more chronically online than you are, but you still like your meme game is still better than mine. So everyone's heard about the chemical attacks from Ghouta 2013 to Douma 2018, sarin and chlorine. But out of like 300 attacks, all of them were by Assad. And one way that you can definitively prove this is I think 80% of the attacks were from the air, and the only person who had air force in Syria was Assad or Russia or Iran.
But you don't even have to go for all that proof that he did it. All you need to focus on is who was denying they ever happened at all. Okay, and it was him. In his state news, I remember at the time I was a kid, I was watching TV with my parents. We were sitting there and we were watching the state news, and they had people coming in claiming that, oh, we were paid to pretend that we were hit by chemicals.
Yeah, and they intimidated people. Like right after it happened, they would go to the area and say like nothing happened here, and if you know it's good for you, you won't say anything.
Yeah,
they didn't allow like the investigations to happen right after the attack. OPCW and UN blamed Assad. Russia cried it was a false flag. They got people like Aaron Mate and stuff to come to the UN and give them evidence. It was like the biggest propaganda battle of the war. Like Assad rested his whole power. I mean, Obama kind of did it. Like Obama rested Assad's power on whether or not he used chemical attacks. He's like, kill all the people you want, just don't use chemical attacks. And then Assad still used chemical attacks. And even that logic was weaponized to say that he didn't use them, because who would be stupid enough to use them?
Him. He would be.
He would be. He is. And he did. Okay, you're going to pronounce this guy's name so I don't embarrass myself. Only read the name in English, so I don't know how to pronounce it in Arabic.
I don't know if that's a O or a A, no?
That's what I'm saying. That's why I've got you to spell it so that I don't.
Ols. It's probably Ols. Like.
Okay, anyways, Saloom Azrael, a torture nicknamed the Angel of Death, infamous in prison lore. Survivors
spoke of him as one of the like worst they'd always fear when he was the one that was torturing them because he was like the most ruthless and yeah, became like a mythological torturer.
When you reach levels where there's glory stories about the torture, you know you've gone too deep. It's always just fucked up to even think about.
To think he goes home and kisses his wife and kids at the end of the day was crazy.
Like nothing happened.
So this guy's story is kind of murky. He wrote the chant Yalla irhal ya Bashar, which became super famous, and then he was apparently found with his vocal cords ripped out and his body was thrown into the Orontes River. But his song lived on and people always sang it in protest. Yalla irhal ya Bashar means please Yalla, like leave Bashar. And then ironically his chant Yalla irhal ya Bashar became Allah Souria Bashar, which went way more famous and way more viral and global. And I have a video that's making fun of it that like still gets views every day because people always search for Allah Souria Bashar for some reason. At least 100 views every day on that video, even though it's like years old. That meme will live on forever, bro, because that song gets stuck in people's heads really easily. Pipelineistan conspiracy. This one's funny. Like people used to like tell me that this whole revolution was all about a pipeline for Qatar to give gas to Europe via Syria, and Assad blocked it, and so that's why he's targeted.
Yeah, obviously that's a factor in some of the countries being involved. But that's not why it started, and we all know that's not why it started. It started because people wanted to revolt. Maybe some particular faction got armed because of it, but
and Qatar didn't tell Assad to go and kill Hamza AL-Khateeb and like cut his balls off, you know, like. But even in that logic, Russia also wanted a pipeline through Iran and Syria too. Like it's not as if like Assad was choosing not to let Qatar send gas to Europe because he wouldn't want that. Like he'll still take the money if he could, but Russia was his handler and they said no. So yeah, it's also not true, and the idea persists. But it provides like a neat economic explanation for the war that people latch on to when they hear it. Al-Qubaysiyat, a female Islamic order in Damascus, outwardly apolitical but deeply tied to regime structures. A cult-like group of pious women, Muslim women, who were tolerated by Assad while others were crushed. I never heard about these. I've never heard about them, but I heard they're iconic.
Yeah, I've heard about them like randomly in forums.
Yeah.
They started off as like teachers, and they'd come together to teach. They'd have like meetings. They'd teach women. Some people tell me that the regime basically like targeted them for religious reasons. Others tell me that the regime used them as informants.
That's what I hear more. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more complicated.
They were controlled opposition. They were like the SSNP, you know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I get from them. They're like Sunni Muslim women, and I hear you can even like tell by the way they wear their hijab and like what they wear a black robe and stuff like that. That's one of them or something, or at least that's like a follower of them. Yeah, it's a way for women to be involved politically while still also like maintaining control still. Anarchism. Omar Aziz, a Syrian anarchist, wrote a pamphlet. He was an economist that like lived in Saudi Arabia when the revolution started, but he left Saudi Arabia to go to Syria to protest. And he wrote a pamphlet on organizing, and it spread to other cities. And he is partly the reason, and he helped found a lot of local councils, including the one in Dimashq and Sharaa, and a bunch of different cities had a local coordination committee, or tansiqiyat as they say. Another anarchist in Syria, well at least you know his influence is in Syria, is Öcalan, the Turkish Kurd who is in a Turkish prison right now, but his writings inspire Kurdish forces that adopt his vision of democratic confederalism.
The spillover of the Turkish-Kurdish conflict adds another dimension into the Syrian civil war, which many people seem to get really confused by. Look, whatever you think of Turkey, Syria isn't a courtroom. It's a civil war with actors like Iran, the PKK, the US, Israel, Jordan, Iraq, Hezbollah, all on the board. It's no shock that many Syrians back Turkish intervention as the least bad side. This drives a wedge with some Kurds. Some see Turkey as the primary enemy. others don't. Michal Tammo was one of these Syrian Kurds who, like many Syrian and Iraqi Kurds, he argued for alignment with Turkey to help overthrow Assad. Turkish Kurds, ones who are aligned with Öcalan, rejected this and even partnered with Assad or Iran to box Ankara out. Syrians and Syrian Kurds want freedom for all in Syria, and that includes Kurds. That overlap matters, and we celebrate this diversity and this intersection. But some factions tried to hijack Kurdish solidarity and smear the Syrian revolution. The PKK exploits this rift, infiltrates, provokes, and keeps this wound fresh and open. That fault line was where Tammo was killed. US forces raided Syria to kill an Al-Qaeda facilitator, one of the first cross-border strikes foreshadowing Syria's future as a battlefield for all. This is one of the biggest evidences for the following point. Who created ISIS? Hopefully this will be a longer video in the future, but Assad freed jihadists early on, even before the revolution, to send them to Iraq. During the revolution, he called them back to come in to distract the rebels from just fighting him, and he hit moderate rebels much more than he hit the extremist ones so that they could continue fighting rebels, and he quietly traded oil with ISIS too. The regime's fingerprints are all over ISIS, and there was like intelligence reports that confirmed it too after he was ousted.
Yeah, ISIS formed itself, but Assad is the one that allowed it to happen. It would not have been able to exist or come into fruition or do anything whatsoever without Assad. He
exactly.
facilitated their existence. He gave them the reason to exist.
I think there's even some instances where he literally transported them to go fight rebels on certain battlefields, literally observed like on war maps and stuff. There was no ISIS, and then suddenly there was ISIS, and it's like, where the hell did they come from? And it was like so convenient for Assad that ISIS would just like appear all of a sudden to fight rebels for him. Anyways, please let me know if you're interested in a deeper dive on that. I am definitely going to make a video, but if you comment it, I'll do it sooner. Israel's Secret Intelligence Services, ISIS. This is the dumbest meme. I see people say it all the time. It's literally like, oh, it spells ISIS, therefore it's ISIS, you know? That's about as much thinking as you have to do to make that logical conclusion.
You can replace Israel with India. You can make it work too.
Yeah, like, bro, ISIS, wasn't that like an Egyptian god's name or something? No, so that means Egyptians were behind ISIS, bro.
No, Sisi did it. If you CISI, Sisi. Just spin it up.
CC, spell it backwards. ISIS. That's so true. You're right. Look, nobody hates ISIS more than Syrians and Iraqis. Let's get that clear. We buried the most of their victims. And yes, it should go without saying, we also hate Israel too. But when that hatred is used against us to launder Iran and Assad's crimes, that's where I draw the line. It's too convenient for them to use ISIS and Israel as a scapegoat. You can condemn ISIS and Israel without whitewashing Assad. In fact, the reality is likely far uglier than we know. Relationships in war are fluid, transactional, shifting with convenience, not ideology. Now, to speed run some lazy talking points that I keep hearing. ISIS was treated by Israel. No, Israel treated specific Syrian rebel groups, not ISIS. Conflating them is propaganda. Prisoners confessed to Mossad involvement. Confessions under captivity mean nothing. Duress kills credibility every time. How do we know that they weren't obtained under torture? WikiLeaks said Al-Qaeda was on the US side. Out of context, it meant non-engagement while both fought Assad and Iran, not an alliance. ISIS never attacks Israel. Al-Qaeda never defends Palestinians. False. ISIS called for attacks and fringe factions did try. They were crushed fast by Hamas and by Israel. Palmyra executions, destruction of ancient ruins, Yazidi genocide, slavery, mass killings, all broadcast as a spectacle. Pure medieval theater with modern media. It was a pretty crazy time. Like, ISIS really brought this, like, end of the world vibe with them that you actually thought, like, when you were watching their videos, you actually thought, like, these guys are ushering in the end times. Like, Jesus is gonna come, bro. Like, Isa is coming back tomorrow, bro.
It really makes you feel like it's a complete and utter breakdown of society. There is no humanity left in it.
And that was part of their propaganda, was just to be as extreme as possible. To make everyone else look like angels, even if they're terrible. To be the worst people.
Because you see it, you watch it, and you just fail to understand how this even helps their goal. How does it support you to murder this child and call their mother and make sure they know? Well, how does this benefit you? There is no benefit. but they still do it.
I think on the ground it benefited people to feel like they're in hell, and these are the only ones that will like this. These are the ones in power now, and you have to like submit to them. Yeah. I wish we could speak to someone who lived under them, but did you ever?
No, I was close to
No.
an attack one time, but
Mm.
I never lived under them. They did their attack, they killed their people, and they got killed.
Mm.
So I never had to live under them for an extended period of time. No,
Alhamdulillah, that's good, man. I'm glad.
alhamdulillah.
CIA extraordinary rendition. Before the war, Assad was Washington's torturer, as well as Egypt and Iraq, by the way. Post 9/11, the CIA outsourced interrogations to his prisons. When the revolution came, he played both butcher and partner.
I don't know a lot about this. I was hoping you'd go
Yeah, it
into it.
mostly happened under Bush, so it was like a long time ago too. So it's important to mention that Syria and CIA do go way back. Like CIA has been in Syria a long time, and it has been there even when Assad was there. It's not like the revolution like ushered in CIA. Assad was actively cooperating with them. Okay, now we're on the ocean floor, deepest level. Assad family occult, Arabic forums, YouTube channels, Facebook pages, partisan blogs, Telegram chats. They all repeat stories talking about Bashar consulting astrologers or occultists, linking Esma to secret dossiers about rituals in the palace, and family mystics, often framed as leaks or insider testimony too.
I feel like people have a tendency to see the gruesome side of humanity and the shit that happened, especially in Syria, and how complicated and gruesome it came down to. And they have a tendency to try and blame the devil because how
Yeah.
humans do this, right? So he can't be human.
Mm-hmm.
So there must be something greater than involved
For
in him.
sure. It's also copium, in my opinion, like religious copium, sort of. It's like they're interfering with God's will because they're devil worshippers or something like that. There's a video of the angel that was walking, apparently fighting on Assad's side. But yeah, like watching that actually kind of scared me, man. It was actually kind of scary to watch. I don't know. I love that kind of stuff. I miss the feeling of watching like a creepy video online and actually getting scared. Because I know it's silly, but it actually spooks me. Like I'm not a fully like non-believing person. I believe in that stuff too. But yeah, that video is just silly.
It's highly comical.
Biblical Isaiah 17, Damascus will cease to be a city. A lot of people took this verse in the Bible to mean that,
Of
the
the end of
Syrian
time.
Revolution is the end times. Did you ever hear this?
Yeah, I've heard that. And you know what recently has been happening? With the Euphrates, some people found something similar to gold or maybe gold, and people have been
Yes.
talking about, oh, the Euphrates,
Yeah,
gold.
yeah. And that's actually happened a couple of times in my life. Like I've read an article that says they found gold at the bottom of the Euphrates. So it's not even the first time. Yeah, people like they love the end of the world and like deciding it's come. Islamic hadith, Jesus descends at the Umayyad Mosque. So another reason people think that like, the Syrian Revolution was ushering in the end of the world was because the Umayyad Mosque, which is in Damascus in Syria, would be the first place that Isa would descend, or Jesus. The final battle between Black Flags and Rome, and Black Flags obviously is ISIS, and Rome is kind of viewed as the West in general. Both jihadis and evangelicals cast Syria as Armageddon's stage. Assadists, yeah, Assadists said angels were seen on their side.
So that shit always fucking makes me laugh.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the fringe of the fringe. This is the lowest I've ever, like, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard when researching Syria. I found it while watching actually a YouTube channel called Mysterious Middle East, and one time it was talking about the Anunnaki and talking about how like there was a story of how Putin apparently was communicating with the aliens in Syria, and they he was the reason why Trump pulled out in 2018 so quickly. There was a video of a Russian soldier who went to a U.S. military base in Syria and found that they didn't even have time to like empty it out or anything. Like they just fled as if there was like a real hurry. Like they panicked and left. I don't know. Some conspiracy forums were talking about how Putin is in talks with the Anunnaki and
He gave a call to Trump saying, get your troops out of there or they will be disintegrated. Um, yeah, conspiracy. The Anunnaki, ancient alien overlords, threatened Putin in secret. Putin warned Trump in 2018, leading to their withdrawal. A tale so absurd it belongs only at the iceberg's abyss.
You
And that
can't see I'm
concludes.
wearing a mask. I've been smiling this whole time.
Yeah, I can see the smile. Don't worry, man.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen, the Syria iceberg. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you'd like to see me talk about in the future. Shout out to the Discord. Please join if you'd like to be a member. Also have a Patreon. This video took a lot of time to edit, and I'm generally pretty lazy to make like high effort content like this because I don't really have the audience, but I know that making it will lead to getting that audience. I also have like a really bad kind of system and computer and stuff, and takes a really long time. So if you like my content, I would really appreciate you joining my Patreon so I could afford an upgrade and could put out content much faster. Yeah, special thanks to Valentine Wiggin, to Emma, and yeah, special thanks to my Syrian Christian friend that participated. Huge shout out to Ali and Edward. You guys have been contributing to the Patreon for a really long time. Thank you so much.